Free agency is just around the corner. We are mere hours away, guys. Give us a follow on Twitter, on YouTube at double OT Pod 4. We're following it all there. Anth, Ty, Cass, welcome back, guys.
What's going on?
Evening, boys. We
What's
are
up?
the evening before the tampering period becomes legal.
That's right. And start us off here a little bit about you've been talking about a Lamar extension and also, some things in relating to AJ Brown, Jalen Carter. There's a lot going on. Start us off real quick with Lamar and then maybe preview a team for us that you see being pretty aggressive here to start.
Yeah, so the Lamar Jackson situation is interesting. The Ravens, now that they got Max Crosby, have a cap problem currently as it stands. And one of the best ways you can get out of that cap issue is to extend Lamar Jackson. And so that was one. Typically the Sunday before the tampering period becomes legal, you see all of these extensions get done. And really the purpose for that is because it does help you from a cap standpoint prior to going out and kind of acquiring new talent from other teams, right? Free agents, trades, things like that. Virtually, how it works is, they go to Lamar, they extend him. You take that bonus, that huge bonus, signing bonus that he would sign, and you can extend it out over the 4, 5, 6 year deal or however long it would be. So it's pretty common in the industry, and I'm kind of surprised they haven't done it yet. It's still a little early, still could get done tonight. That was one I was kind of expecting to get done, because if they don't do that, I just don't know how Baltimore kind of keeps making moves after they've already kind of gone all in to get maxed.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you look at a team like that, obviously a big splash, but a team that missed the playoffs. So to your point, there's going to be a lot of teams out there that are not one free agency move away, right? I don't really think there's any team out there that's one free agent move away. Ty, what about for you? Is there like a specific player or team that you're looking at tomorrow right away where this is going to kind of lead the direction for free agency?
Well, I'm actually very interested in the quarterback market. I want to see how quickly things kind of fall, whether Kyler Murray, the Malik Willis, some of the other free agency quarterbacks that are out there. Are these going to happen quickly tomorrow, or is some of this stuff going to drag out? So I'm really interested to see how that, because I think once that kind of gets going, I think that's really how free agency gets started, and other teams start making other moves, whether that's figuring out draft plans or other other options, be it trade or free agency. So I'm very interested to see how quickly that kind of domino falls for the quarterback side.
And outside of the quarterbacks cast, what are you looking for as far as maybe a position or a player for free agency? Is there something you're looking forward to tomorrow?
Yeah, so two things. One, where Mike Evans is going, that'll be interesting. Right, see who's going after him. And the Ravens would be interesting because they had that report that came out that said no wide receiver wants to play with Lamar. So if Mike goes, has success, that'd be a good story. And then I want to see what the Bengals are going to do. Especially, I hope they don't do anything and they mess it up and Joe wants to leave and come to Miami. But they need to give him some help. He needs to he needs some O-line, some protection, and they need some defense. But I hope they crap the bed.
Poor Joe Burrow, right?
Yeah, I know.
So you got
Yeah.
you got TJ, you got Max, you got the greatest pass rusher probably in the game, maybe in the history of the game. Man, they got to figure something out. That's a good one. David, for me, look, what have we seen so far, right? These teams in the AFC. So we've seen Buffalo go out, get DJ Moore. Okay, they've improved. We've seen Baltimore go out, get Max Crosby. They've improved. We've seen Houston go out, get David Montgomery, probably one of their bigger needs, going into this new league year. For me, it's kind of like game on Denver, right? Game on, New England, even to a lesser extent, game on Kansas City, right? So how are these teams going to go out tomorrow and get aggressive and get better, right? Because that AFC is going to be pretty fun. And some of these teams have kind of made moves and gotten better. So I'm pretty interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, I would say for me, kind of to bring it back to Cass, like Mike Evans is a big one for me and Alec Pierce too. I think that once those two, and really the first one, which is probably going to be Alec Pierce, I think wherever he goes, that is to me where I wonder, do teams start to panic, right? Because it's kind of very top heavy where you have Alec Pierce, you have Mike Evans, and then it kind of falls off after that, right? There's not a ton of options where you can say, I have a number one receiver I'm signing in the offseason or a 1A, a 1B type of guy. So I'm curious to see what teams do once those top guys go. Do they go more towards tight ends? Do they go more towards shifting their focus on the draft? I think that cookie crumbling is going to set the tone for a lot of things that happens in the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I think the same thing too, free agency wise, but also the trade market. If Alec Pierce is the New England guy, obviously there's ties to AJ Brown. A lot of those things, if they miss out on some of their top guys, whether that's Mike Evans or Alec Pierce or whatever, do they shift their focus? Do they give the number that the Philly Eagles want for AJ Brown? That's something I'm interested to kind of seeing how that plays out as well.
Now, let me ask you guys, obviously some new news with Jalen Carter that he's available now. Who is more likely to be traded, AJ Brown or Jalen Carter?
I'm going to say AJ Brown. A couple things with this AJ Brown thing, and this is just kind of my take, and I'd be interested to hear what you guys think. I think based on watching Philadelphia last year, and again, I've had a lot of dialogue with the Eagles fan base. Like they are pretty aggressive, and they are pretty adamant that the Eagles do not want to move him. Okay. AJ Brown is a hell of a football player. You look at them last year, and there was obviously some kind of tension going on, not just between AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, but it seemed like the whole offense in general, like that offense stalled. They have so much firepower, and they just did not look good. And I have to imagine that tension was part of the reason, right? It's interesting. Nothing has happened and a lot of the issue here is the cap ramifications on both sides, right? Like AJ Brown, if he is traded, he has a $40 million, I want to say $42 million dead cap hit for the Eagles. And so this is kind of the problem, right? So like deep down, I think Howie and company want to move him. I think they want to kind of move off of those issues, but it kind of ties them up if they were to do that moving forward to make some moves in the regular season. I think a team like the Patriots understand that, and therefore maybe they're not offering that first round pick that the Eagles want. That one is pretty interesting, and you got two good organizations kind of going back and forth here. So we'll see like who blinks first, but I still feel like that AJ Brown trade is going to happen, but it's tough. There's a lot to think about if he's dealt and how the Eagles move forward with that.
I'm surprised that you were surprised that Eagles fans are intense.
Yeah, no, you hear about it, Cass, and then you like start talking about, like they're just, the passion is there. And I mean, I could say the same for AJ Brown, just like his passion to want to win. And, like, I don't know that I necessarily fault him for any of it.
Yeah.
If he's not available, there's no trade talks happening, right? Like, I think the Eagles want to move him, but I also think it is probably pretty tough to do so just because of the cap ramifications.
I was going to say the other side to that is that he's a top tier player and tall, athletic. There's a few guys out there like Nico Collins and DK Metcalf that are close to like AJ Brown. So like you're obviously losing talent if you move him. The other thing is he ended up being right, and maybe you need that voice in the locker room that just doesn't stay quiet when you guys aren't playing well. He did win a Super Bowl, and he was a big part in that Super Bowl win, 2 years ago. So I don't know, man. I don't. And the other side of that is don't trade him, work it out, improve. And if you improve, and obviously like he needs the ball more, like he's right. So I don't know. I say you don't move him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think for New England's side of it, because they obviously seem like the most logical destination. Drake May took a major step. I mean, he's ascending to be in a top 5, top 3 quarterback type kind of trajectory right now. You get him a guy like AJ Brown, who Mike Vrabel knows very well, was obviously with him in Tennessee. Like that makes a whole lot of sense, and that can be kind of that next phase for New England to kind of get over the hump. Didn't look great in the Super Bowl, but they get a piece like AJ Brown. Man, watch out, AFC.
Yeah.
And real quick, speaking of getting a piece, I want to shift over to the running back market a little bit before we run out of time. You guys mentioned on the rebuild, the possibility of trading Achane for, the Chiefs' 29th overall pick, whatever that is, that late round pick. Do you see, maybe not specifically to the Chiefs, but do you see a team desperate out there with, as you mentioned earlier, Anth, right? The AFC is making moves, right? These are the Raiders moved Max Crosby, so the Ravens got him, right? Great move for them. The Texans went out and get Monty, another skill position player. Obviously, DJ Moore to the Bills. Is it something that you see where a Chiefs or a Denver or, one of these teams that was in Super Bowl contention goes out and gets a difference maker before the draft?
Yeah, it's heavy at the top. You know, you can go the trade market. There's something about it. It's like it seems like for years the idea of the running back position, right, was not one that really mattered all that much. Like don't overpay them. Draft them in the fourth, fifth, sixth round. That seems to be changing. To me at least, it seems like teams are putting more value in the running back position, and I think this
Ever
is
since
another.
Saquon went off with the Eagles, I think that transition started like, hey, wait a minute,
Yeah,
this might work, you know?
Gentry last year gets drafted
Yeah.
high. You got Love that's going to come out this year high. It seems like the league is valuing the running back position, which is great. I think it's very important for a young quarterback as like a safety blanket. Someone that can catch is pretty important right out of the backfield. So yeah, that's a position tomorrow that I'm really looking forward to seeing how that plays out. There's some good ones.
Yeah, and you
Yeah, I
talked
think the
about
running
Achane.
back position is getting a little bit more love because running backs are lasting longer now with conditioning and sports medicine and things. So I think if you get a solid guy, you let him last, and you look at Christian McCaffrey, you bounce back from
Yeah,
injuries and you're solid too.
that's fair. That's a
Yeah.
fair point.
Yeah, and regarding Devon Achane, like I said, we've talked about it. We kind of threw out that hypothetical. I don't think people understand in the league how good Devon Achane is. Like, he was a third round pick from Texas A&M. McDaniel used him through and through. He might be the fastest guy in the league. He has a little banter between Tyreek and Waddle, but in terms of speed, in terms of catching ability, in terms of running through the tackles, he's a smaller guy, but he's an absolute stud. He's going to want a new contract. He's going to want to be paid like the big boys. The team like the Chiefs make a lot of sense just because of where they're at. They're obviously trying to restart that dynasty. Mahomes. I'm assuming he's going to be back earlier than they say. He's Patrick Mahomes. Any of these
Yeah.
superstars that are in these injuries, I feel like come back a lot sooner than they're projected. So they are in desperate need of a superstar. They need a receiver. They need a playmaker, and that is exactly what Devon is. And right now, the Dolphins are in a position where if you offer us a first round pick, like I don't think they say no to that, even though that he's so valuable to us and we want to keep him. We're just not in the position to do that. And to me, Denver makes sense as well. That if their quarterback didn't get hurt, they're probably in the Super Bowl last year. So that makes sense. But I think the Chiefs with Mahomes, you got Rashid Rice, you put Devon in that offense. I mean, that is unstoppable in my opinion.
What's the gap between Achan and CMC? How big is that gap? Is it big, small? Because I
Guys,
don't
to
think
me,
it's that
Minuscule.
big.
like
Yeah.
I put him over Bijan. Like,
I'd
Yeah.
rather have the younger guy. I'd rather have Achane
Yeah.
for sure.
Etienne's
Yeah.
really
So
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
to me, they're very comparable players, right? They both impact the passing game, the running game. They can make breakaway plays. Like they're both superstars in the league.
And they're very, I can't say this enough. They're very valuable to young quarterbacks that
100%.
are
Yeah.
on their third or fourth read on a particular play, and the running back just comes off the backfield, maybe kind of goes off and can catch. Like that's just huge. That's huge.
Yeah. Let's talk about those young quarterbacks. I know there's a few teams we talked about, right? The Cardinals, the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Jets, to name a few. Cass, start us off here. Like, where do you see? I think the big name out there is Kyler, right? Everyone's kind of wondering where Kyler Murray goes, and then also Malik Willis, obviously. But as far as like those vet minimums where you're going out and not paying top dollar, it's Kyler Murray. So where is he going, Cass?
Yeah, it's Minnesota. It has to be. They have all the weapons. They need a quarterback. And I think and listen, I'm not gonna get into cap space questions at the last episode, okay? So, but I will say that I think he's a good fit. I don't know how well it will turn out, but it will be the make it or break it point in his career because now, like, where is the excuses? If like you didn't make it work in Arizona, all right, we understand those situations. But you go to Minnesota where Sam Darnold just had a good season and Sam Darnold is mid quarterback in NFL and you're supposed to be a tier above him. If you can't make it work with Justin Jefferson and those guys, then where are you going to make it work?
No doubt. No doubt. And with Kyler in particular, outside of Arizona, of course, he's going to have all the teams, Dave, you mentioned, lining up to sign him, right? Mainly because of the cap hit, but he can still play, right? And so he's going to have his choice. And to me, if you're going and you have your choice, like, are you picking the Jets, are you picking that fan base or that franchise? I don't think so. I think you go, Minnesota, you've got the best staff probably in the NFL on both sides calling plays. I think that gives you the best chance to win.
Yeah, I do want to wrap this up, but Ty, real quick, what does that mean for Arizona and their quarterback plans?
Yeah, it seems like they're gearing up to go after Malik Willis. It seems the three teams for Malik Willis are the Cardinals, Jets, and Dolphins. Jets and Cardinals have top five, top six in cap space, but the Jets don't make sense because Malik Willis is a little bit of a wild card. It seems like Geno Smith might be the connection there. The Cardinals are definitely going to go after Malik Willis and outbid the Dolphins. I would believe, and it seems like that's going to be the plan they're going.
Yeah, and one final thought before we totally wrap it up here. Give me one team tomorrow that's going to be the most active.
I'm going to say the Washington Commanders. They got a lot of cap space. They decided to go trade for vets last year, and it blew up in their face. They got pretty old, so they need to get young. They need to get fast. I feel like they have a staff right now that is desperate to win. I think they need to win, and I think if they do not win, they're out. And so I'm gonna say the Commanders are gonna be the team to be aggressive.
I love it. I think we're going to be busy tomorrow, boys. Thank you for tuning in, guys. This is Double Overtime Pod. Again, follow us on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. Double OT Pod 4. I'm your host, Dave. This is the guys. We'll see you next time.